What's up, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Kids Talk Sports podcast. And on today's episode, I'm going to be reviewing three big games from the college football week 7, I think it was, from college football week 7. And then I have a question of the week for you guys to answer and a shout out to give at the end of the episode. So let's get into it. So the first game we're going to talk about is Texas versus Oklahoma, the Red River rivalry. This was an absolute beatdown. Texas came into this as the number one team in the country. Texas, they absolutely crushed Oklahoma. It was 34-3. Quinn Ewers had 199 passing yards, 1 passing touchdown, and 1 interception in his first game back from his injury. Gunnar Helm was the leading receiver for Texas with 5 receptions for 91 yards and 1 touchdown. And Oklahoma started off this game with a field goal to go up 3-0. They did not score ever since. So Oklahoma, they dropped out of the top 25. They now have 2 losses. So we'll see what happens to them next. But Texas wins 34-3. I honestly thought Oklahoma may have had a chance in this game to maybe pull off a little bit of an upset, but clearly I was wrong. Texas is looking like the number one team in the country right now and my national championship favorite, but that's just my opinion. So Texas wins 34-3. And that kept Texas to stay at the number one spot. Even though Oregon did defeat Ohio State, they moved up to 2, but Texas still stays in the number one spot. And I honestly, in my opinion, think that Arch Manning should be the starter for the rest of the year. I think Arch Manning, he's more used to the offense. I think he has more potential because he can throw the ball just as well as Quinn Ewers, but also has that running game. So I think Arch Manning should be the starter, but obviously they're going to go with Quinn Ewers. He does have more experience, but still, I think Arch Manning should be the starter. And then the next game that we're going to talk about is Oregon versus Ohio State. This was a showdown. This was up there with the Alabama-Georgia a couple weeks ago. This game was insane. Oregon did take the W, 32-31 over Ohio State. Will Howard for Ohio State had 326 passing yards and 2 passing touchdowns to go along with Jeremiah Smith's 9 receptions for 100 yards and 1 touchdown. I think he's going to win the award for the best wide receiver in the country. He has been playing amazing. On the other side for Oregon, Dylan Gabriel with 341 passing yards and 2 passing touchdowns. This was just a really good game to watch, an awesome game. Both defenses started off hot, then the offenses started to pick it up. And a big key play that really cost Ohio State the game is Ohio State quarterback Will Howard. He stepped up in the pocket with about 3 seconds left. He ran for a couple yards and then slid with 1 second left. Ohio State had a timeout left. And if you want to go back and look at this, if you go back and pause the recording to when Will Howard goes down, the Ohio State players are screaming for a timeout, and when Will Howard goes down and they call a timeout, there's still 1 second left on the clock, but the clock ran out, and eventually just Oregon won. So I think that Ohio State could have made a field goal there to win it, but that was really interesting. Ohio State, they slid. They should have got the timeout with 1 second left and would have had a chance to kick a field goal because they were at like the 30-yard line, and their kicker definitely had a chance to make that. But again, Ohio State drops to 5, Oregon goes up to 2, and Oregon takes the dub 32-31. And then for the last game that we are going to talk about, we've got Alabama versus South Carolina. I was actually at this game. If you didn't know, I'm a big Alabama fan. I was actually at this game. This game was insane. Alabama barely survived. Jalen Milroe played one of his worst games ever. He had 209 passing yards, 1 passing touchdown, 1 rushing touchdown, and 2 interceptions. He played really, really bad. But on the other side of things, though, South Carolina, they trailed 14-0 in the second quarter. But then everything started to change. It was a 4th and 11, and South Carolina, they went for it on 4th and 11. They threw the ball deep. They caught the touchdown, which was absolutely insane. And that just brought all the momentum to South Carolina. They trailed 14-0 in the second quarter. They never looked back. They got an onside kick. So basically what happened is they get this insane 40-yard touchdown. They're down by 2. They have to get the 2-point conversion. What do? Quarterback overthrows it. They don't get the 2-point conversion, but they do get the onside kick with 40 seconds left. This was an insane onside kick. I think 3 Alabama players had a chance to get it. They all missed it. They get the onside kick. They throw it deep, and it's picked off at the 3-yard line. And I think it was Damani Jackson or Keon Sav who had the interception. He caught it at like the 3-yard line and backpedaled. And there's a rule where they give you a couple yards after you get the interception if you go into the end zone. That it's not a safety, but he backpedaled a little bit, and he was about to take a knee, but he realized that maybe they would have called that a safety. So he came out of the end zone. Eventually, Alabama would win the game. But just think about that. If I think it was Damani Jackson, if he took the knee, they could have called a safety there, and that game would have been tied. But Alabama, again, barely survives. That was a really, really close game. But yeah, so to review, Texas beats Oklahoma 34-3. Oregon beats Ohio State 32-31. And Alabama beats South Carolina 27-25. And then I'm going to give you guys my top 5 rankings, so I think are the top 5 teams in the country. So at number 5, I'm going to have to go with Alabama. Right now, I'm not saying right now they're a top 5 team in the country by any means, but at the end of the season, I think they'll be a top 5 team. Number 4, I've got Georgia. They're also just a really solid team. Now, at number 3, this is a really tough one. I've got Penn State, but Penn State hasn't really proven that they can beat a good team yet. At number 2, I've got Oregon. They are really good. And then at number 1, I got Texas. So those are my rankings. Again, number 5, I got Alabama. Number 4, I got Georgia. Number 3, Penn State. Actually, you know what? No. I think Texas, I have Texas at number 2 and Oklahoma at number 1. Not Oklahoma. Oregon. Oregon is a really solid team. And for this week's Clutch of the Week, just an early prediction. Who do you think will win the Heisman this year? Again, early prediction, and we can look back on it at the end of the season. Who do you think will win the Heisman Trophy this year? And you can send in your answer this week's Question of the Week or previous Question of the Weeks to my email. My email is talksportswithmason@gmail.com. Again, my email is talksportswithmason@gmail.com. And before we go, I have a shout out to give. So shout out to Ezra, who said that he thinks Ohio State is the best college football team right now. So shout out to Ezra. And as always, thank you guys so much for listening. I hope you enjoyed. I will see you next time. Peace.